back. Now, let's try to do some long division questions with renaming. So if you remember, the questions that we did earlier did not have any renaming, but now we'll try doing questions with renaming. Okay, do you remember the 5 steps? Try to recall the 5 steps before I show you the answers. Okay, so the 5 steps are here. First we divide, second we multiply, third we subtract, fourth we bring the next number down, and 5 we do it again. So let's start with 2-digit numbers. I want to do long division with renaming. So the first example will be 58 divided by 2. So what does it mean by renaming? Renaming means that after I divide my tens, I will still have some tens left over that I will have to group together with my ones to divide again. So if that sounds a bit complicated, let's look at an example. So 5. Can I take 5 divided by 2? Will I get a nice number? So I can't. If I cannot take 5 divided by 2, I want to find a number that is close to 5 but smaller than 5 that can divide by 2. So let's try and remember our multiples of 2. So our multiplication tables of 2. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and we can go on, but this is enough for now. So if you want to write down your multiplication tables, write it down at the side. Don't write it down together if you're working, as that will make you very confused. So if I want a number that is smaller than 5 but is as close to 5 as possible that can be divided by 2, I have 2, 4, 6. 6 is already greater than 5, so I need to pick the number before that, which is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So remember, for my first step to my 5th step, I always start from the top to the bottom. So 4 divided by 2, I get 2. So I write it at the top. And since I'm working in my tens now, I write it in the tens column. Okay, second step, multiply. I always multiply the numbers that are outside. 2 multiplied by 2. That gives me 4. Third step, I need to subtract. 5 subtract 4 gives me 1. Which means that 5 tens, I take away 4 tens, I have 1 10 left. So what do I do with my 1 10? I rename it together with my ones. So I bring down my 8 ones and I group them together. Now, my next step is to do it again. So I start from the first step again. 18 divided by 2 is 9. So, since I'm at the first step again, I start from the top again. I get 9 ones. So, second step, multiply. Multiply the numbers that are outside. 2 times 9 is 18. So I write 18 below, since I'm starting from the top and going to the bottom. Next step, subtract. 18 minus 18, I get 0. And I can stop here because I have no other digits to bring down. Which means that my answer is 58 divided by 2 is 29. my quotient is 29, my remainder is 0. Let's try a different question now. What about if I have 72 divided by 6? So, it's a bigger number now, but no worries, it will still follow the same 5 steps. First step, divide. So remember, I always choose the number that is the closest. So I will take my 7/10 and divide it by 6. However, I can't take 7 divided by 6, which means I need to do renaming. And when I have to do renaming, I first need to think of the multiples. So my multiplication table of 6. So I have 6 times 1, which is 6. So remember to write this at the side so you don't get confused. Then I add another 6 to get 12. I add another 6 to get 18. I add another 6 and I'll get 24. Okay, so this is enough for now. Which number is the closest to 7 and is smaller than 7? So it will be 6. What is 6 divided by 6? It is 1. So I start from the first step, which means I need to start from the top. I put 1. Second step, I need to multiply. So I take 6 multiplied by 1, which gives me 6. Next, I need to subtract. My 7/10, I take away 6/10. I get 1/10 left, which I need to rename together with my 1s. Fourth step, bring it down. So I bring my 1s down to get 12. And then I do it again. So when I do it again, 12 divided by 6. What is 12 divided by 6? It is 2. So I put my 2 in my 1s column. Then, second step, multiply. 6 times 2 is 12. I subtract it. I get 0. Which means 72 divided by 6 gives me 12. Okay? Now, let's try another example. So one more example. So, let's do a 3-digit number now. Let's try doing Okay, let's try doing 250 divided by 2. First, I still follow the same steps. 2 divided by 2, I get 1. So in my hundreds column, I write a 1. Second step, if I have 2 multiplied by 1, I get 2. Third step, I need to subtract, which gives me a 0. Next, I need to bring it down. So I am done with my hundreds column. I go to my tens column. I bring my 5 down. Okay, after I bring it down, I do it again. But if you notice, I have to take 5 divided by 2, but 5 cannot divide by 2. So remember what we did just now? We listed down the multiplication tables of 2. So we can refer to the one that we did just now, or we can always write it out again. So if I were to write it out again, I would write 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Now, which number is closest to 5 that is smaller than 5 and can divide by 2? So it is 4. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. So I put 2 here. Second step, I need to multiply. 2 multiplied by 2 is 4. And then I need to subtract, which gives me 1. So is this going to be a problem that I have a 1 here? No, because I still need to bring down my 1s. So my next step is to bring down. I will bring down my 0, 1. So even though it's 0, I still need to bring it down because I'm not done with my 1s column. Okay, after I bring it down, I need to do it again. So I go back to the first step. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Next step, multiply. 2 times 5 is 10. Then I subtract. I get 0. Which means 250 divided by 2 is 125. Okay? If you feel like you need more practice, you can always go back to the start and redo these questions again before checking the answers. Sometimes for 3-digit numbers, it gets a bit complicated. For example, let's say I have 231 divided by 7. So this is a bit more difficult, but no worries because it will still follow the same 5 steps. Firstly, I know I need to start with the number that's nearest to the 7. Can I take 2 divided by 7? Will I get a nice number? Remember, the number that we put at the top is always 1 digit. So we don't want any number that is in fractions. We only want nice numbers. So we wanted whole numbers. 2 divided by 7, I cannot take 2 divided by 7. Even if I list my multiples of 7, so let's say I list 7, 14, 21, 28. I notice that 2 is smaller than any of these numbers, which means that I have to put a 0 in my hundreds column. If I go to my second step, multiply, 7 times 0 is 0. So any number multiplied by 0 is always still 0. If you are not sure about this, just think. If let's say I have 3 friends and I give each of them 0 pencils. How many pencils do my friends have in total? So they will still have 0 because you did not give them any pencils. So next step, subtract. 2 minus 0 is still 2 because I didn't take away anything. Next step, bring down. I need to rename my hundreds with my tens. So I take my tens. So now I have 23. Let's look at my multiples of 7. Okay, so this is 7 times 1, 7 times 2, 7 times 3, 7 times 4. Is 23 in here? Is 23 in my multiplication table of 7? No. But there is a number that is the closest to 23 but smaller than 23 down here. And that would be 21 because 28 is larger than 23. So I'll pick 21. What is 21 divided by 7? It is 3. When I take 7 multiplied by 3, so that's my second step, I get 21. My third step, I need to subtract. 23 minus 21 is 2. Next step, bring down. So I'm done with my hundreds, I'm done with my tens. Now I need to go to my ones. Okay, so I bring down my ones. Now I have 21. I need to do it again. I go back to the first step. I need to divide. 21 divided by 7 is 3. So remember we listed our multiplication table of 7 just now. We take 7, multiply by 3, which is in the ones column. We get 21. Next step is to subtract. I get 0. Which means 231 divided by 7 is 33. Remember not to put a 0 in front here because we do not start our numbers with 0. Let's try one more question together before you try it by yourself. Let's take 304 divided by 8. First, let's start with the hundreds. 3 divided by 8. That doesn't seem possible. So, to check, let's list out our multiplication table of 8. 8, 16, 24, 32, 40. Okay, I think I have listed enough for now, so I'm going to stop here. Now, 3. 3 is smaller than 8, which means that I can't find a number that's smaller than 3 that can divide by 8, which means in my hundreds column, I will need to put a 0. Second step is to multiply. 8 times 0 is 0. Then I subtract. I get 3. Okay, next step is to bring it down. So I go to my tens column, I bring down the 0. Fifth step, do it again. 30 divide by 8. Oh, but 30 cannot divide by 8 nicely. So let's look at my multiplication tables of 8 again. Which number is smaller than 30, but is the closest to 30 that can divide by 8? Can it be 32? No, because 32 is larger than 30, and I want a number that's smaller. So it has to be 24. What is 24 divided by 8? It is 3. So I need to multiply 8 and 3 together, which will give me 24. Next, I need to subtract. So 30 minus 24. If I'm not sure what 30 minus 24 is, I can always do my working for subtraction. So 0, I cannot minus 4. I can change this to 2 and I can rename my ones. So 10 minus 4 is 6. And 2 minus 2 is just 0. So I can leave it blank or I can write a 0. Next step, bring it down. I'm done with my tens column. I bring down my ones. What is, okay, I do it again. I divide. What is 64 divided by 8? So let's say I really don't know. I can just list out all my multiplication table of 8. So after 40, I will have 48, 56, 64. So I found 64. So that is 8 times 1, 8 times 2, 8 times 3, 8 times 4, 8 times 5, 8 times 6, 8 times 7, 8 times 8. So this is 8 times 8. Which means that 64 divided by 8 is 8. So since I'm at the first step, I start from the top again. 8. Then, my second step is to multiply 8 times 8, we found out just now, is 64. I subtract it. I get 0. Okay, so my final answer, 304 divided by 8 is 38. So if you need more practice, you can always just write the question again on a different piece of paper and try the working and check, do you get the correct answer? Okay, now we've done 5 questions with renaming together. How about you try some questions yourself? So, I'm going to give you 3 questions to try. Okay, try these 3 questions by yourself and then we'll go through the answers. So you can pause the video here while you try it. Okay, now let's go through the answers and I'm going to do it quick because we've already know how to do it and we're just checking our answers. So, first step, my 9 tenths, 9 divided by 7. 9 cannot divide by 7, so I list out my multiplication tables of 7. The closest number to 9 that is smaller than 9 and can divide 7 is 7. 7 divided by 7 is 1. 7 times 1. Then I subtract to get 2. After subtracting, I need to bring the next number down. 28 is 7 times 1, 7 times 2, 7 times 3, 7 times 4. So I know 28 divided by 7 is 4. So I start again, I put it at the top. 7 times 4 is 28. Subtract it, I get 0. So 98 divided by 7 is 14. Next, 132 divided by 4. I know 1 is smaller than 4, which means that I have to put a 0 because there's no number smaller than 1 that can divide by 4. Okay, 4 times 0 is still 0 because any number times 0 gives me 0. I subtract it. I still have 100s left. Then I bring down my tens and I do it again. So I need to divide. Can 13 divide by 4? So if I'm not sure, I can list out my multiplication tables of 4. So I have 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. Okay, I can stop here for now. 13. Which number is smaller than 13 but close to 13 that can divide by 4? So if I look, 16 is bigger than 13, so it cannot be 16. The smaller number is 12. 12 is very close to 13 and it can divide by 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So I put my 3 here because I'm in my tens column now. 4 times 3 is 12. And then I need to subtract, which gives me 1. Next step, I bring it down. Bring my 1s down because I haven't done my 1s yet. 12 divided by 4 is 3. I multiply 4 and 3, I get 12. I subtract it, I get 0. So 132 divided by 4 is 33. And the last question, 296. Can I take 2 divided by 8? No, right? Because 2 is smaller than 8. So there's no number that is smaller than 2 that can divide by 8. So I put a 0. 8 times 0 is 0. Subtract. I still have 200s left. Next, I need to bring down my 9 and do it again. So I need to go back to divide. Can 29 divided by 8? Okay, I'm not sure, so I'll list my multiplication tables of 8. 8, 16, 24, 32, 40. Okay, I can stop here for now. 29 is not in my multiplication table of 8, and the number that's closest to 29 but is smaller than 29 will be 24. 24 divided by 8 is 3. Okay, 8 times 3 is 24. And then I need to subtract it. I'll get 5. Okay, and then I have to bring my 1's digit down. 56 divided by 8. Can 56 divide by 8? I'm not sure. So let's continue listing down my multiplication tables of 8. 48, 56. So I see 56 is here. 8 times 1, 8 times 2, 8 times 3, 8 times 4, 8 times 5, 8 times 6, 8 times 7. Which means that 56 divided by 8 is 7. 8 times 7 gives me 56, which I will then subtract, and I'll get 0. So 296 divided by 8 is 37.